Hey, welcome back, everybody. It's time once again for another episode of our favorite show, This Week with Wendy. The only show that shows you the real SoCal estate of mind. With your host, Wendy Ross, who after decades of working at real estate brokerages in Silicon Valley and Orange County, decided she was going to do something really different. And that's when she created Veracity Real Estate. Time was right for a renewed commitment to bespoke client advocacy at all price levels, something you just don't see in high-cost markets like this one. And through it all, she's built a group of data divas, data-driven truth seekers, who, truth be told, never cease to amaze me here with the insights and ideas she comes up in every week here. So let's see what she's got for us today. What's cooking today, Wendy?
You know, there's always something. There's always something going on.
When I said that notion, I said she's worked for real estate. Now she's working for something really different. For a moment there, your eyes flash like, well, this is a real estate broker. It's just a little really different.
So you know me. You picked up on that. You can feel the eyeballs.
Where is he going with this one here?
Yeah. No, well, we're just trying to keep real estate real because there's so much smoke and mirrors going on out there. Which, you know, makes me crazy. It's like, can we just lift the veil for a minute and tell people what's really going on? It shouldn't be this mysterious.
Well, what's going on today in the market?
Well, you know me. It's like we're trying to bring a new perspective and bring analysis to the market in all levels. And there's a fresh way of looking at things. And part of the way that I can bring the kind of analysis that I do is by surrounding myself with people who are smarter than I am in a variety of fields, like Ms. Fiona Sanchez, who's here with us today. So just as a quick teaser, today we're going to talk to Fiona. She's the Director of Water Resources for the Irvine Ranch Water District in Central Orange County. And we're going to talk about California's drought and how each of us can do our part to conserve water because it's real. It's here. Like it or not, we need to learn better ways to conserve water. Fiona directs Irvine Ranch Water District's water banking, water reliability, water efficiency, and environmental compliance programs. So she's got a lot under her belt. With 29 years of experience in water resource management, she's active in local, regional, and statewide water resource issues. And in fact, she's been recognized many times for her work. She was the recipient of the California Urban Water Conservation Council's 2010 Excellence Award for statewide and institutionalized innovations. She was a 2015 recipient of the National Alliance for Water Efficiency's Water Star Award. So she's got tons of insight to share. But before we get in there, so that was just to tease you all. Let me just talk really quickly about what happened in Orange County real estate last week. But Paul, I know you've gotten used to me saying always, it's called This Week with Wendy for a reason, and I do a quick weekly recap of what's going on in real estate, but I'm going to shift gears. This is my last week of last week.
Okay, last week.
This is my last week. I'm just saying it here. This is my last week of last week. I'm going to go back to old school month-to-date reporting because we're not moving as dynamically as we were. And we're starting to accrue inventory in such a way that's not reflected in the weekly reports. And it's important that we see the macro picture. So we're going to shift, and I'm going to do both today. So as far as last week in Orange County, we got 406 new listings on the market, which was down 2% over the week before, which again is moving in the wrong direction for summer. We put 421 homes into escrow, which was good. That was up 15% over the week prior. So given less inventory trickling in, a little bit more going under contract, we're going to keep some pressure on pricing in spite of buyers kind of getting nervous. We sold 538 homes last week. That again was up 17%. But remember, that's a lagging indicator. So those properties that closed escrow last week opened escrow 30 and sometimes even 60 days before. So the cooling that we're seeing in the market today is going to manifest in data that's going to horrify us in August. I can hardly wait. Last week, those homes that closed escrow, they closed after having only been on the market 9 days median. And what's interesting is the median price erosion just started. The median price was down from $1 million to $992,500. So that was down almost 1%, 0.75%. But the list price to close price ratio held strong at 101.8, so that was up just a hair over the week prior. Again, all of these figures we're going to start to see eroding, but that's lagging. So moving on to the month. So what happened in June? We had 3,835 active listings in the month. 1,681 went into escrow during June, and we sold 2,361. So it was a fairly strong month in terms of sell-through, but the listing inventory was just paltry. We should normally have 8,000 and 9,000 homes on the market in Orange County. So super, super suppressed inventory. The median price held steadily, though. It didn't go up. It held at $1 million all month long. And that's because buyers are just unwilling to pay more. They're just saying no. The most interesting indicator, though, is now going into July, instead of, instead of expecting homes to sell in a week, it's going to take more than 2 months. So we're going from 7 to 10 days on market to 70. And that is a change that we haven't seen this rapidly, this dramatically in decades. But it's because we're coming out of a pandemic, and it was this artificially induced environment, this fervor that wasn't real, and it's getting to be more normal. Normally, historically, in June, we would see market time around 35 to 45 days. 70 days is twice as long, and that's because buyers are digging in their heels. They're saying, nope, I'm not going to pay these prices. Nope, I'm not going to pay 5.5% for my financing. I'm not going to do it. And it's going to make for a really, really rocky summer. So that's really all I can talk about, I can say, before being nauseous. So here we are. The market is slowing. It's going to be a gruesome summer. But let's talk about drought.
Yeah.
Moving on to happier topics, right, Fiona?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Well, every week, Paul, I bring notable names to come and join me to talk about what we really need to know about, and things that affect our homes and affect our quality of life, things that we should know about, and things that I want you to know about. So I've brought Fiona in with me today, again, from Irvine Ranch Water District. Before joining Irvine Ranch Water District, she successfully designed and managed award-winning regional water use efficiency projects on behalf of numerous agencies throughout the U.S. And I'm dying to hear what prompted that. So thank you for being here. I really appreciate your time. I know it's valuable. Help me understand it. This is fascinating. How did you get into this? And tell me everything.
Well, I literally got into it by accident.
I love this.
Yeah, I was actually at UCI doing an MBA degree here, and I had done a study abroad program, went skiing in the French Alps and wrecked my knee and didn't have health insurance.
Oh, no.
So I came back, and a company, well, actually a big water district, Metropolitan Water District, was looking for interns in the 1992 drought.
Oh.
And so I went to the interview with my leg in a cast, and I got hired on. And so that's how I literally fell into water efficiency.
You and I need to stop hurting ourselves.
Right.
Right? We were talking before we went on air about how we've been wounding ourselves. That's incredible. So you were an intern, and then were you just fascinated by the work that was being done?
Yeah, it was really fun. Water efficiency was still a relatively new field at that time. And so I got to do a lot of new, creative, innovative things. And then I worked for a consulting firm, and I did projects and work for water agencies throughout California and the U.S. So it was really fun.
Interesting. And being from Northern California, I'm familiar with this sort of weird rivalry that the North and the South in California argue about whose water is it and how dare you take our water. So did it get political at all when you were doing some of these programs?
Not so much the programs I did, but it was political, and it still very much is.
Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting. So you were at the right place at the right time to be one of the innovators in this whole new section of science.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me, what is the state of our current drought, and how does it compare to that 1992 drought?
So the drought that we're in is actually a fairly severe drought that is impacting parts of the state. And droughts affect different areas differently, and a lot has to do with how California is plumbed, essentially.
Really?
And how we get our water and what different sources we have access to, right? So in Northern California, they pretty much have the Delta, the State Water Project. And then that water, we get water comes down to Southern California through the State Water Project. But in Southern California, and even in Orange County here, we also have State Water Project water from the north. We have local groundwater that helps us. We have water from the Colorado River that we can import. And we have a lot of storage projects that we built after the 1992 drought. So Southern California is pretty well positioned, and we've invested in a lot of water efficiency here. So in parts of the state, the drought is extremely severe. We're talking about some areas are going potentially within the next month to not being allowed to have any outdoor irrigation.
None.
And yet in our service area here, we are asking our customers to be more efficient. We all need to do our part, but we're actually not projecting any shortage.
So I've heard that in LA, they're already implementing some standards for limiting outdoor, like
Right.
literally setting limits. Orange County's not doing that?
Orange County is not, because those parts of LA are the areas where they can only get water from the State Water Project.
Oh.
And that's the water that is the most impacted right now. They don't have any water to send down the aqueduct.
I had no idea. I just assumed that the whole state had water from the same sources equally. But it's so logical when you say that. And I had no idea we actually had local water.
Oh yeah, we're very fortunate, especially in Central and North Orange County. We have a massive groundwater aquifer here that we can pump water from locally.
And there's no concern about depleting that?
Well, there would be, except we have also invested in a groundwater replenishment system. So we actually take highly treated wastewater. It's treated beyond drinking water standards and then we pump it back into the groundwater basin. It percolates down, and we're able to replenish our groundwater basin even when we don't have rainfall.
And am I stretching this here in guessing that you were probably part of that project?
No, I wish I could take credit. No, I know about the project, but no, I was not.
'Cause that's
Some
quite
very smart
brilliant.
people came up with that.
That is quite brilliant. And filtering it back into the aquifer is just another layer of cleansing it, right? So
Right.
it gets purer and purer as it goes down.
Exactly.
How brilliant.
Yes.
Well, I just want to thank you and all the people that work with you for making Orange County a little bit more, water rich than even LA County.
Right.
So if you were to compare, is it reasonable to assume that our farmland areas in Central California, are they going to be okay? Or are they also facing?
They, depending on where they're located and what water rights they have. So California has a system of first come, first in line for
Wow.
water rights. So depending on how much your water right is, you either may have water or you may not. So water in the Central Valley is extremely expensive, and there's a massive, massive aquifer in the Central Valley as well, right?
Okay.
But there's been a lot of pumping because we're going through more frequent droughts. We had one in 2013, we're here again. And so you might have heard about subsidence in the Central Valley because they're over pumping the aquifer. Once that happens and the aquifer collapses, you can never actually refill it.
Wow. So it is a permanent.
So it's a permanent collapse. So there are programs, and actually one of the things that Irvine Ranch Water District does, we have a water banking program in the Central Valley. We use it for emergency supplies for our customers here in Orange County. But what we do in really wet years is we take surplus water that would have gone to the ocean. They had nowhere to put it, and we take it and we put it into our water bank.
Thank goodness.
In the Central Valley. It helps shore up the supplies below ground in the Central Valley. We can pump that water up in emergencies. But this year it's not a lot of water, but we have lent 10,000 acre feet of water to local farmers around Bakersfield and about 4,000 acre feet for urban areas in the State Water Project, dependent areas for urban use.
And you said loaned, right? We lent it out, so
Yeah,
it needs to come back.
So we will get that water back in a future year when it's wet.
Incredible. Now, and of course, I'm concerned as a homeowner, and I like my lawn, I like my landscaping, all of that stuff. So it's gratifying to hear that we're not going to have to go to the extreme of zero water for our houses and kill all of that. But also because we're getting more and more fires, a more fire threat, where does the water come from to fight fires? Or are we doing that more with chemicals?
Well,
I know I'm a little off topic here, but
no, it's usually water. We take it from reservoirs. Like if you've ever seen the helicopters that do the drops, they'll go to pick water from. So we coordinate a lot with Orange County Fire Authority. We operate several open reservoirs, and they train with our reservoirs. So they get that water from there. Usually that water is not necessarily drinking water supply. We have recycled water reservoirs. We have untreated water reservoirs, so they'll pick up that water.
Okay, great.
But yes, they do need water to fight fires. It's
Right.
Really critical. And, we've got to have the electricity and everything to be able to pump the water to get it there. So that's another concern, too, when we have shutoffs and fires.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that. You're right. So if we have a fire and they cut the power, then...
So we have backup generation and pumps and ways that we can generate so that we can keep the water flowing for firefighting.
There is so much more to water than anybody really thinks about, and I thought I was a deep thinker, but this is fascinating. All right. So do you think that we're going to have any more impact from this drought other than just be mindful and be efficient? Do you see other shortages or stoppages?
It a lot depends on what happens over the next few months and winter. Governor Newsom is looking to see immediate reductions from everywhere in the state, regardless of where you are, because we all, as Californians, we all need to do our part, right? So if he's not seeing reductions, he has mentioned that he may consider a mandatory reductions like we had, about 5 or 6 years ago. So potentially, yes, we could see more requirements on reductions.
Yeah.
And if we have a dry winter, next year is going to hurt even more.
And I remember being a kid as a native Californian when there was a really severe drought, and I want to say it was in the late 70s. I'm aging myself.
It was in the late
right?
70s.
And I remember having a timer for our showers and things like that, And at my house, I still remember that. So if I'm taking a shower, I'll turn the water off, when I'm shampooing or doing something that doesn't require the water to be running. So are there things like that you can recommend that all of us can do that we might not even be thinking about to save water?
Probably the biggest thing would be maybe on the outdoors. So we all think about the water we use inside, right? And obviously we want people to fix leaks. If you've got a drippy faucet, you might not realize how much water that can waste, or a leaky toilet. But outside the home is usually where the most water is used. And people don't think about it, especially if they have an automatic irrigation sprinkler. It goes on when they're asleep and they don't notice it. And so long as their lawn is green, you don't think about it. But that's actually where you have the most potential water waste. So I would just encourage people to take a look at their lawns, see if you can adjust the irrigation schedule a little bit. Maybe think about taking out some of that lawn that you don't necessarily use for recreation. So if you could put in some more drought tolerant plants, even if it's just a small piece, you can save up to 40 to 60% of your outdoor water use.
And that's a lot. You're right, because it's a lot of area.
Yeah.
It's much larger than, me taking a shower.
Right. And a lot of agencies are offering financial incentives right now. Like we just upped to our highest rebate amount ever. We're at $5 a square foot incentive to take out your turf.
Wow.
Other agencies have rebates, maybe not as high as us, but
how does a consumer get access to that information?
On our website, so www.irdwd.com, and we have information about those as well as other rebates for other fixtures that you can do to improve your efficiency.
That's wonderful. And to your point, yes, something as simple as fixing a leak inside the house is pretty easy to do, and going and revisiting your timer on your irrigation system.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Making sure you're not overwatering, adjusting the minutes that you're putting on. Because what a lot of people don't realize is that most of our landscapes can only take about 3 minutes worth of water before it runs off into the gutter. So really all you're doing is watering the pavement.
Right.
And so, but if you have a schedule set for 10 minutes.
It's too long.
That's 7 minutes too long.
Yeah.
Now, if you need a little bit more water, you're better off to do 3 minutes, wait an hour, and then do another 3 minutes.
That's a really good point.
Let it soak in.
Okay. So, because if you exceed the absorption rate, then you're just not being efficient.
Right, and you're just wasting the water. It's going straight down to the storm drain and into the ocean.
That's a fantastic tip. I love it. Okay, so we know that we're not in as dire a situation as the rest of the state, but we should still be efficient, and we should still be good Californians because we're all in this together. Right? And we're loaning water out, and we'd like to get it back someday.
Right.
So are we at any risk with this aquifer because we're so mindful about putting money back into it? We don't have to worry about subsidence here?
I don't think so, but we all residents of Orange County, we need to be efficient. We need to use the water that we have and use our resources wisely.
Right.
So I don't think we're concerned about our aquifer. We manage it. In wet years, we replenish it, and we have the groundwater replenishment system as well. So but we all want to do our part, right? So making sure we have indoor plumbing fixtures that are efficient, maybe it's time to get that latest clothes washing machine that is more efficient than the one you have now, and see if there are rebates available. This is the time to maybe think about doing some of those things.
And I was listening to a commercial and wondering if it was true or if they were just trying to sell appliances. But I heard this radio commercial saying that using your dishwasher on certain cycles is actually more water efficient than washing them in the sink. And I thought, is that really true?
It can be. It really depends how you wash your dishes in the sink. If you turn on your faucet and you just run it constantly, you're not going to be saving more water. And most dishwashers are really efficient, especially if you run them with full loads.
Yeah.
So the bottom line is any appliance you have, full loads.
There you go. And are there other things that we can do? Because you had mentioned, of course, if there's a power outage, that affects our ability to pump and move water. Are there other things that we might not be aware of that aren't directly water related we should be doing to assist with the water situation?
I can't think of anything, but since you mentioned power outages,
Yeah.
one thing that we do get those when we have high heat, right? Well, the other thing that it does when it shuts off your power to the house, it also resets all your irrigation timer schedule. And a lot of people don't know that.
I did not know that.
And if your battery is not good,
Mm-hmm.
it will default to a factory setting of 10 minutes a day every day. So we get a lot of calls that come in after power outages when people get high bills. And they're getting high bills because their water use went up.
That's incredible.
So maybe replacing those batteries in your irrigation controller could really help.
It's amazing how all these little simple common sense things have a profound effect and we're not even aware of it. That's
Right.
why we have people like you to tell us
Yeah.
what to do. So what do you see next? I mean, do you think that there's other technology or innovations that are going to come to the fore, like solar, helping, if there's a power outage or anything like that? Is there anything?
I think
brewing?
I think we're going to see a couple of things. One is, and we're already starting to see it, and water suppliers are incentivizing it. If we look at new homes, you can see the footprints of the outdoor areas typically a lot smaller
Yes.
and not a lot of turf. We're really transforming our landscapes into landscapes that are more water efficient. So I think the older homes, there's going to start being pressure to kind of transform those homes, and maybe it's going to be trendy at some point in California to have a water efficient landscape.
Xeriscaping is back.
Yeah, a lot of people think that is cactus and rocks, and everybody goes, I don't want that. But there are absolutely beautiful landscapes that you can create, and they're way more interesting than just a massive turf that you have to mow every weekend.
We're going to have to get someone on the radio show to talk about that. That's our next topic. Yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful landscaping that doesn't look like the desert.
Yeah, yeah, and we have lots of tips on that. We actually do a little show, we call it the Shed Show at
Do you?
IRWD, right, where we give lots of tips on that.
I love it. IRWD, it's our new favorite website, people. Let's go there and get tips on how to take care of our yard and watch the videos and
Yeah.
learn about getting rebates for buying water efficient appliances and fixtures. So are those rebates for purchasing water efficient products only for customers of the IRWD, or is that statewide? Do you know?
In general, almost every water agency has rebates available,
Okay.
and especially in Southern California, because the major wholesaler Metropolitan Water District offers a certain level of rebate. What a lot of agencies in Irvine Ranch does is that we add on additional funding. So we might have different rebate levels. So check your individual water supplier's website, but we typically all have rebates of some form.
That's fantastic. I'm going to go home and look at my appliances now. Well, and it's interesting being in real estate, being a real estate broker, and we have all of these disclosures about do you have water efficient fixtures and low flow toilets and all this stuff. And people scratch their heads like, why do we care? This is why we care.
Right.
This is why we care.
In Southern California, if we had not invested as much into water efficiency as we did after the 1992 drought, we would be in really bad shape today.
Interesting.
I'll just share a little fact because I'm a little bit of a data nerd.
I am too.
But in Irvine Ranch Water District service area in 2009, we used about 58,000 acre feet of water for our service area supplies in a year, 58,000. Our population then was about 330,000. Our population today is 460,000.
Wow.
But we use 58,000 acre feet of water.
That's incredible efficiency.
Yeah.
And so that's everything from building standards. And was it after the 92 drought that that was when we implemented the policy for low flow fixtures
Right.
in new construction and all of that?
Right.
Interesting. Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've had this conversation/argument with a homeowner saying, why can't I put 5 shower heads in my shower? And why can't I have, more water pressure? And why can't I enjoy this? I'm like, well, you can have drinking water, you can have a nice shower.
Right.
You pick.
Exactly. Yeah,
You know?
we live in what would be a desert if we didn't irrigate it.
Exactly. And we've already made this lush environment that wouldn't naturally have been here, or at least not as consistently here. So we have to be, to your point, custodians of this.
Right.
That's incredible. All right. Well, before we go to a break, is there any other little interesting tidbit that you can think of that we may not know?
Oh, well, I will share that in Irvine area, if you drive around and it's a drought and you're wondering why everything looks lush and green,
Yeah.
it's because 30% of our supplies or demands are met with recycled water.
And I have seen some of the signs. There's little signs saying irrigation with,
Irrigated with recycled
Recycled
Right,
water.
and Purple Pipe.
yes, exactly.
Purple Pipe came from Irvine. I have a story to tell you about that.
Tell me now.
So, well, I don't know if it's urban legend, but apparently when we were first doing recycled water, which was in 1967, we were the first agency in the U.S. that could do that. They had to make sure that people could tell the difference between recycled water and potable drinking water. We had a colorblind engineer, and the color that he could most distinguish from blue, which is for domestic water, was purple. So purple pipe is now used around the world. It is a international standard, and it's called Irvine Purple.
I love this. Bravo, Irvine. That's fantastic. Well, and that's important too, because isn't a huge percentage of the male population colorblind?
I think so. I don't know
Yeah.
the stats, but yes.
So governing this decision based upon colorblindness was actually quite smart because it's benefiting a whole bunch of people.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Irvine Purple. All right.
Yeah.
Paul, you want to take it away and thank our sponsor?
Absolutely. Well, as you show over and over again, one of the things we love about this show is you surround yourself with some interesting partners and people, including our sponsor for the show, Ford and DiIulio. Ford and DiIulio is an Orange County-based boutique litigation firm with experienced attorneys from the big law firms. When they founded it, they did so in a simple concept. Why don't we work for our clients' best interest here? Why don't we put their needs first and not just try and drag things out? Let's be effective and efficient and get to the heart of what they're looking to accomplish. Relentless pursuit of their clients' goals, whether in litigation, mediation, or a trial. Seems pretty simple. Can't say everybody follows that philosophy. The folks at Ford and DiIulio sure do. And if you're looking for somebody who will do it for you, check them out, FORDDIULIO, FordDiIulio.com. All right, can I get to ask my question of the day here? This is what's so many interesting angles to this whole water issue.
Isn't there? Yeah.
But yet, and I had no idea that Irvine story. That's a great story. I'm going to share that one.
Irvine Pride.
Is it different in the south part of the county where they don't have groundwater? Are they in more distress? Are they at more at risk? Because Irvine in the middle part of the county does have groundwater, and I don't think you talk enough about it, but you do go back and replenish that groundwater and pump other, what is it like, I don't say wastewater, but it has some other term for it. It's not drinking water, and you sink it back in the ground, and it becomes drinking water over time.
Right. Well, it is wastewater.
Wastewater, okay.
But it's highly treated. It's treated to drinking water quality standards before it's put back into the groundwater.
But you put that in the ground to replenish through aquifer when you can. So is the south part of the county at more risk?
It is. So I keep asking myself why I bought a house in South County. You think I would know?
Yeah, right.
You would know. That's
because I live in South County, and I wonder about that. I was shocked to find out years ago there is no groundwater in South County. They're struggling to find little pieces of it
There's
here and there,
none?
but
Yeah.
Okay.
They have a lot of recycled water, which is used for irrigation, so that does help meet demand. But yes, primarily dependent on imported water from the State Water Project and Colorado River.
And so what am I to make when they tell me the Colorado River is down to the reservoirs are down to almost zero? They're down getting below the intake pumps where they're not even going to be able to pump water or electricity. Lake Mead and what's the other big one? Lake Powell, yeah.
Right.
What am I supposed to think about that? That if that's a source for us as well as up north, and that source is going bone dry, I just...
Will it? Is there expectation it'll replenish, or is it just not?
The Colorado River, well, I could spend probably a whole hour on that, but essentially when the Colorado River was first allocated back in the 1920s, it was after a really wet period. And so all of the allocations that were given to the different states and water rights holders on the Colorado River were based on really overestimated assumptions. So we're never going to get our full allocation on the Colorado River. It's really with climate change and a lot of impacts, we're seeing shortages. And so all the states, including and the country of Mexico, are going to have to get together and work out how they can address this.
A reallocation, if you will?
I don't know. I wouldn't like to say that, but the Bureau of Reclamation, which is the federal, they could just basically renegotiate the whole deal.
Or shut it off for a while. What happens if they just say no more water for a while? Or forever. If it doesn't start raining and filling up again, if it just keeps going down and down and down, couldn't we run to a point where there's no water from that?
I don't see where we're getting to none, but I do see some fairly significant restrictions potentially happening, and then we'll be called upon to, reduce more water here in Southern California. The other piece that we do have in Southern California is a lot of storage. So we've actually saved water in reservoirs like Diamond Valley Reservoir. It's out by Hemet for essentially not a rainy day, but a dry day.
Yeah.
So we do have storage, but all of those things over time. So there's going to be a lot more looking at how we can continue to be more efficient in California, and it's not going away with climate change.
Well, I think the good news is what you're saying, that you guys in Irvine take efforts to protect and replenish the aquifer, and that over time, I've heard that story before. I think it's startling that even the population has blossomed. We got a lot more people. You found ways to not need more water. But at the same time, when do we sound the alarm bell and say, wait a minute?
Now.
Yeah.
Now.
Well, we certainly have to. We're hearing the message in the state. I will say for Irvine Ranch Water District, we've run the numbers. If we have 5 more years of drought, just like the one we're in, we're still okay. We're not projecting any major shortages. But it's because we've planned, our customers have planned, and we have a lot of local sources of supply. But there are going to be parts of the state where it's going to be really critical that people take action to look at what they're doing in irrigation and everything else, the things that we don't think about, repairing leaks, et cetera.
So could water kill the California dream here? I mean, too many people, too little water? That's my fear. I really, sometimes I hear people say, maybe it's time to get out. Maybe it's time to go somewhere else. Maybe there's just too many people and too little water for the foreseeable future.
We actually have a lot of water. We just have it at the wrong time, and we don't have storage.
That's interesting.
So, and we have to be able to do a
what
better
goes
job.
off into the ocean or whatever.
Yeah, we have to do a better job at investing in the state's infrastructure, like the State Water Project. Last major investment in there was made in the 60s.
Yeah.
So it's aging, it's subsiding. So we have to improve the infrastructure so we can move water around.
It has been 50 years since we invested in this?
Well, I mean, there's been little repairs here and there, but
wow. But
what's
not
the current
scale.
state of that? Because that was obviously Governor Brown's big deal.
Right.
And then he left office and didn't get that accomplished. They were going to I don't quite understand it, but they were going to somehow rework the Delta, because a lot of it's old and the infrastructure's in danger. A little earthquake or something, and it could collapse and suddenly shut that source of water
That would be
off.
catastrophic.
It would be catastrophic. His plan is basically to replumb the State Water Project around the Delta. The Delta's at substantial risk of earthquake and failure, and if those islands, Delta Islands, fail, and you have a lot of salinity come in, you've got a big problem. It's catastrophic. So Governor Brown's plan was to build 2 tunnels to reroute the water around that sensitive area. Governor Newsom stopped that. He put that on hold. Now what they're doing is considering a 1 tunnel versus 2. The reason we wanted 2 is so you've got redundancy in the
Backup,
system. Yeah, but he wants to look at a one tunnel project, and currently they're doing the environmental review for that.
How long would that type of a review take for something of that scale?
10 years.
It can take a lot of time and
figured it was
subject
years.
to challenges.
Sure. Fascinating. Just fascinating.
So last question about water here, and I'm sorry to get, because you have rare chance to get somebody, because what do you say on the other hand? I hear this from my neighbors all the time. There's no drought. This is all just made up. It was. Didn't you see how rainy it was? It was record rain this winter here. Drought's done, gone.
Well, there was record rain, but a lot depends on where the rain falls, right? So our California's water system was built on snow in the Sierra Nevada being essentially our water storage.
Right.
But with climate change, we're not getting it, and the rain melts faster and sooner, and we can't store it. We can't hold it. So they actually have to release water so that we don't have flooding.
Wow.
And so it can be a challenge.
Talk about feast or famine.
Yeah,
Right.
Right.
And actually, the imported water in Southern California, as I mentioned, it doesn't come locally. Yes, we have a groundwater aquifer, but our imported water is coming from the Colorado River and from north of the California Delta. So we might get a lot of rain here in Southern California. It's great. It really helps with wildfire and all of that, but it doesn't necessarily completely improve our water
Because we don't
supply
store it.
situation.
That's fascinating.
Or it doesn't store itself. It evaporates before it
Yeah,
can turn into
right.
snow.
It's not going to store itself. You know, and you make a great point, both of you, talking about, is there a drought? Is there not a drought? I just want to clarify. I don't know. What is the definition of a drought?
Yeah.
Well, it depends on who you talk to, right? So
really?
if you're talking from a weather perspective, it's talking about, are you in a dry year, extended dry period, and you have not had rainfall for a certain period of time. It's usually 6 to 12 months.
Okay.
So we've been in that now for 3 years.
Right.
So we are definitely in a drought from a weather perspective. Are we in a drought from a water supply perspective? That depends on the individual water supplier and what other things they have. Do they have storage? Do they have other sources to get you through that drought period or that drought period? But yes, the entire state is definitely in a drought.
I see.
Different water suppliers have different abilities to cope and manage it.
So we can't say we're not in a drought because we have water. We were just more efficient with our practices and our technology and developing storage.
Right.
But see, I always assumed that there was a scientific definition of a drought, and I assumed it was weather related. So that makes sense when we're absent environmental water coming in for 6 to 12 months. And yes, it's been incredibly dry.
Exactly. Yeah.
Incredible. All right. So I have heard that this drought is expected to continue for several more years, but that becomes a meteorological question, right?
Right.
What's the conversation about that? Is everyone just guessing and hoping that it ends, or is there expectation this is going to be protracted?
Well, I think as a water manager, we can't just hope, right? We have to plan.
Right.
So
assume.
we have to assume and plan for extended periods of drought, and they're happening more and more frequently. So really we have to look at where can we invest in storage, where can we invest into water efficiency, and where can we invest into sustainable supplies. Recycled water is a sustainable supply. Why put drinking water onto our lawns where we can use recycled water and save the drinking water for drinking? So we have to look at sustainable supplies. We can look at treating water that maybe otherwise wouldn't have been viable. We've done that in our service area. So water that wasn't cost effective to treat that we've pumped. Now it's very cost effective because it's so much cheaper than the imported water. So all these investments that we've made have actually helped us also keep our rates low for our customers.
That's incredible. I had no idea that Irvine Ranch Water District was such an innovator, and I have a little pride here.
Yeah.
It's a very cool thing. All right, well, shifting gears, because not only is what you do fascinating, but everyone has a story, and I just love asking individual humans about their lives. And I'm sure you were prepared that I have my own version of the Vanity Fair's Proust questionnaire. And because this is a show about real estate, my first question is, what city do you call home in South County?
Aliso Viejo.
Okay. And how long have you lived there?
I have lived there 22 years.
Wow, so you hate it.
Yeah, definitely.
What do you like about living in Aliso?
I like the fact that it's a pretty small town.
It is.
And with a town center that I can walk to. And everywhere I go, I see people I know, so I don't feel just like a number in suburbia. I know people when I go to the store and other places, and I feel like I grew up in England, so for me living in a small place is where I know people. It helps me feel connected.
Yes.
And I'm an ocean swimmer, and I can get to the beach in 15, 20 minutes.
It really is convenient.
Yeah.
It truly is. And I lived there for a while and know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. And that center is lovely. And I'm shocked. The Stadium Brewing Company has a pretty darn good menu.
It is. I was just there yesterday.
I love it. It's one of my favorite haunts. So if you have one, I'd love to know, what is your most treasured possession?
I thought about this one. I don't know that I've got one treasure. I have a lot of things that came from my family that are important to me. But maybe one is my grandfather was a coal miner, and he saved a lot of lives down a coal mine.
Wow.
And he was awarded a medal from the king for bravery in saving lives. And I have that certificate from the king. So that's important for me.
Oh my goodness. So were you alone in coming to America, or did your whole family come?
No, they moved here when I was 17.
That had to be an adjustment.
It was.
What a critical
big
age.
Adjustment.
Oh my goodness. And I would imagine, because I think everyone with a British accent sounds so smart and so elegant. Were you well received, or were kids mean? Because kids tend to be mean.
So I am from a part of England where the accent is very strong and not very intelligible to people outside of our area. So people actually ask me, could I speak English?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, good heavens. And did you arrive in California when you immigrated?
Yeah, my parents moved to Lake Forest, and they still live in the same house.
Wow. Oh, Orange County people.
Can we ask you to do the accent? Can you slip into it?
I don't know okay, so if I was in Newcastle, which is where I'm from, and I was going to say to somebody, are you going home? I would say, are you going yem?
Wow.
Wow, I would not understand
You
that.
have masked that beautifully. That must have taken concerted effort. Wow. Incredible. See, these are why we ask these questions, because everyone has an interesting story. Well, considering that, you're an underachiever and you haven't done so much, I mean, it's amazing what you have done and all the contributions you individually have made to various water agencies. Of all of that, what do you consider your greatest achievement so far?
It's kind of funny, but although I have been really successful in my career and I've loved it, I think my greatest achievements are like the ties that I have with my family and those bonds. And that's what's really important to me at the end of the day. And actually figuring out how to adjust to being in another country and making it.
No joke. Yes, that is a great achievement. And had you not said that, I would not have known. No, I admire anyone who moves to another country. I don't care from where or to where, but to your point, where you're moving to a completely different culture, it is a big deal. And I think sometimes we forget that America is a land of immigrants. Very, 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 very few of us are indigenous. The rest of us, my family included, we're all immigrants. So if we could just be nice to each other,
Right.
how much better would that be?
Yeah.
I agree. Do you have a personal motto? And if so?
I was thinking about this one. I think for me, if I had one, it would be work hard, play hard.
Nice. Ocean swimmer, you do play hard.
Yeah.
Goodness. Okay. Well, I hate to say this, but we're going to have to wrap it up. If people want to reach you or the Water District, how would you recommend they do so?
Well, our website, it's www.irwd.com.
Perfect. So go there, get your water resources. Thank you so much. I'm going to have you back, because this is a many splendor thing, and we can talk about the Colorado River in greater length next time.
Okay.
Perfect. All right.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Paul. And so that's it for this week. Listen to us wherever you most like to listen to your podcasts.